Good afternoon. Happy New Year. Welcome back to the B&H event space. You're tuned into Lightroom Lightroom Week. See there. This is how we're starting the year, Cliff. Let's
Derek,
just
man, you're
rewind.
still hungover, I think.
All that water was bad for me.
Oh yeah,
Lightroom
yeah. There.
Week. There's going to be no light leaks today. We'll
Daddy
save that for
water. Got
next
it.
week. But no, a Lightroom series featuring who else but Cliff Pickett. Today we're starting with the foundation and fundamentals. And if you guys have not heard Cliff talk about Lightroom, it's the eighth wonder of the world. He knows it better than anyone I know. Cliff, I know you got a lot to get to. I'm going to turn it over to you and remind everybody, if you do have any questions, the YouTube chat would be a wonderful place to drop them, get them answered here for all of our live viewers. Cliff, with that, I'll let you take it away.
Thanks for the kind intro, Derek. All right, so here we are, everybody. Thanks for everyone that's tuning in live, and I'm sure this will be recorded, obviously. So for those that are tuning in later, I appreciate your time too. This is a long time coming, right? We've done this. I was just speaking to Derek about this. I think it was like 4 years ago now, right? And the goal of this course. So first of all, you guys are in the right place, right? I can't stress that enough. I'm so excited to be giving you this because there's so much value and there's a perfect time to be able to do this. It's the beginning of the year. This is new beginnings. And you want to start with a fresh foundation, right? We've done this about, I think 4 years ago, I did something similar to this. And I kept on thinking, it's time to update this. It's time to update this. So much has changed in the technology and the capabilities, and even in the workflow a little bit, that this is a long time coming, right? And in many ways too, not a lot has changed in terms of like the core and the fundamentals of this. And that's you're going to see this in the workflow that I've helped for you. The core foundational principles, the foundation of it all, is not going to change. And that's so important to understand too, because we want to develop something that's going to grow for years and years and years, something that we don't have to redo. But there's so many other things that have changed that we've added on that make it simpler, make it faster, that we can automate things. And instead of just rolling these out piece by piece, this is my opportunity to get in front of you guys and give you an actual solution, a comprehensive solution. And that's what this is all about. This is not going to be me just sharing what I know and sharing, well, here's a few things here, here's a few things there. This is something that is a comprehensive solution. It's unlike anything that you're going to see. I guarantee that. And I know that firsthand because I'm friends with a lot of people in the industry. We just went out to the Adobe Summit where I met a lot of people. I see how other people do this, very high level people. This is going to be very different than anything you've seen before. And I want to say that because I want to keep you guys a little bit interested in what we're about to approach. So for those that you who don't know me yet, my name is Cliff. I am a professional photographer. I've been teaching this for decades. To give you a little bit of background, I worked with Adobe firsthand. I was out there last month. I work with Apple firsthand as part of a creative council. I teach Lightroom at the university level at NYU. I was the board of director of ASMP for years. What else? I work with the US government, helping them organize their archive and catalogs. I can go on and on and on. But the thing I'm proud of most is working one-on-one with my students. And I've been doing that for over a decade now. And that's my superpower, right? That's my understanding of how this is going to work in a way that's going to work for you. I'm not going to show you something that's going to work for me. And that's what my frustration was when I first got started was I saw how someone else did this and that person and that person. I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's cool. Let me try it. And it was very different, right? Like they're in the jungle somewhere and getting this exotic bird. And I'm like, I just got a picture of my cat on the balcony. Like, what do I do with this? Like, it wasn't relatable. That's my superpower, is working one-on-one, 3-hour sessions for decades with people from all over backgrounds and all different genres, and understanding firsthand what it's like to tackle these problems. And what I've developed through that very intensive, very laborious process was a comprehensive understanding of how Lightroom is going to work for you, not for me, for you. And not just for you, for everyone. This is something that works. If it doesn't work all the time, it doesn't work at all. Maybe you've heard me say that before. And I so wholeheartedly believe this. If it doesn't work for everyone, If it doesn't work all the time, it doesn't work at all. So this that I'm going to roll out to you over the next 5 sessions is going to be just an overview and a very high level understanding and a very value packed approach to this ultimate workflow that I've created. All right, you don't want to look at my mug anymore. Let me share my screen. And let me go over here. Okay, so this is a 5-part series. Today's day 1, the foundations and fundamentals, right? And the most important thing is that you know you're exactly where you belong. Stick with me over these next 5 sessions. I promise you, and this is a promise I'm going to make to you right now, it will be worth it. If you stay with me these 5 sessions, it will be absolutely worth it. You're going to get your time back tenfold, maybe even more, because everything I'm going to show you is the smartest, most efficient, most flow, least amount of work possible way to approach things. Like I truly believe perfection is achieved not when there's nothing left to add, when there's nothing left to take away. All right. What that really means is you keep on finding things to remove and remove and remove until you get to the core, simplest possible scenario. And that's what I've developed over the years. All right. So 5 days. This is going to be pretty cool. And this is actually just a taste of what I deliver in my boot camp, right? So I completely revamped my boot camp. And those of you that are familiar, I do 1 a year, maybe 2 a year. Last year, because we're scheduled, we just do it. The next one's coming up next month, by the way, right? The 8th and the 9th of February. That's a fully comprehensive, fully intentional approach to everything that we build out together. And then beyond that, I'm offering a cohort experience, like a group, I call it group therapy, but it's really an academy that we take that 2-day boot camp that's intensive, that has everything, and then we spread it out over 6 weeks and we implement it all. And I'm there to walk you through it every step of the way. And we have Q&A, we have off hours, we have questions, the whole platform I built, and we do it together, right? So this is the precursor of that because I'm just talking at you, and we have a little bit of Q&A on the last day. But just know, if this is a lot to comprehend, I get it. We have slides I can share with you, recordings we're going to have, but just really pay attention to this. That's the most important thing. And know that there's resources out there. There's a bootcamp coming up. There's other things that are going to be launching. That's going to be more of a longer term approach and a resource that's going to walk you through this every step of the way. But this 5-part series is my opportunity to get in front of you and give you the absolute best parts of this, the core principles of this, and give you a foundation that you can use and run with it this coming year. This will be the year you get everything sorted, organized, edited, and shared. And I will be there with you every step of the way. All right, so I broke this down in 5 parts. Foundations, fundamentals, day 1. Then we have, that's today. We have the ultimate workflow, which I've developed over decades. It's awesome. And then I have this new thing called the journey of discovery. And I'm going to get into that on day 3. That I'm so excited to share with you. That's the idea of discovering the potential in your own work. I call it the journey of discovery because discovery literally means to uncover. And right now, all of your photos are covered by other photos. And there's a whole process I've developed that helps you literally find the gold that you're sitting on. And when you do that, it's pretty powerful. All right, so we're going to cover that. And there's going to be a bit of editing in there. Well, high-level editing, mostly about what to do rather than the how. And then we get into the how, the art of the edit on day 4. And then we get into Lightroom Live, just to wrap up a QA and AMA, right? Ask me anything. And then I didn't really have enough time to kind of throw in the sharing. So I'll probably put that in there too. We'll leave this kind of interactive, right? That's the whole point of this. So you guys tell me if there's something that you want to elaborate a little bit more. So I have that day 5 sort of just as our opportunity to wrap things up and to tackle things that maybe we want to elaborate on, or just hang out and have a drink and talk to Derek. Who knows? But we'll see how that goes. All right. So that's the general overview. Now, my intentions, my purpose is I really want to make this as valuable as possible. I truly mean that. And when I do this one-on-one with my students, I see this transformation, and that's what I call it. I really see this transformation, and that's the path I want to get you down, right? So we're going to go on this journey together, but we have to start somewhere. And so one of these transformations I want to give you is just this comfort of knowing that everything is organized, safely backed up, and you can find anything instantly, usually within 2 clicks. And if we do this right and you pay attention, you follow along, your images will find you. You don't have to find your images. The problem with just about everyone else's workflow, and this is just born out of pure frustration, is that you have to think about the images you want to find. With this system that I've developed and it works, your images will find you, because you have to think about the photo. How many times you come across an image that you totally forgot about? You're like, oh my God, I totally forgot about that photo. I love that image. Those will find you, right? So we're going to automate, we're going to simplify, and we're going to keep this as streamlined as humanly possible by removing everything, not by adding more options, by removing options. It gets improved the more you remove, not the more you add. So that first transformation, I call that sanity. And that's what we're going to tackle today and then into tomorrow too. We're going to give you that sanity back. Next thing we're going to cover the next day is when you begin to recognize the true potential of your own images, right? That's that process of discovery, the journey of discovery. And I can't tell you how powerful and meaningful it is until you see it, but I've seen it firsthand with all my students. And it's just one of the coolest things ever. Just to see, I had a student a few days ago literally cry. And she's like, I never thought in a million years I'd have photos like this, right? And if I have the chance, I was actually going to grab some of those images from her. Maybe I will. She was going to meet me and I was going to show you the whole catalog, but one of her friends got sick, so we weren't able to meet up. But I'll get some of those images to show you what I'm talking about. And this happens time and time again. You guys are sitting on a gold mine. And if you follow along and you pay attention to this, I can promise you, I can 100% assure you that you will uncover the gold that you're sitting on that you have no idea that you're sitting on. You're sitting on a treasure chest right now. That I call your vision. Right? When you recognize the potential in your own work, not for what it is, but for what it could be, that's vision. When you learn how to realize that true potential, when you learn how to bring that out, when you learn how to bring your photos to life, that's our craft. Right? So recognizing the potential. And that goes when you're out taking a photo, when you frame up a scene, you recognize potential, not for what it is, but for what it could be. And you make the creative decisions you need to, knowing the end result in mind and capturing the ingredients. So whoever said get it right in camera, absolutely wrong, dead wrong. It's misleading. It's just getting it right. And getting it right means capturing the best ingredients possible. That's what getting it right in camera really means. That's not the end goal. That's getting the best ingredients. And then knowing how to cook those ingredients is going to help you get the best photos possible. That's the craft. We're going to be cooking these photos, we're going to be uncovering that gold, those nuggets. And then we're going to be cooking them to perfection. Right? And perfection it's a misleading term. Because perfection, what it really means is to bring out the best inside of anything. That's the idea of perfection. It's been kind of labeled in that regard. So we want to bring them out to perfection. We want to bring out the core essence of your photos. And then when you know how to best share your images with the world, because otherwise they're sitting on your laptop. That's your voice. So we want to cover your sanity back. We want to show you your vision. We want to give you the craft. And I'm going to do this as fast as I possibly can. It's going to be a little bit Cliff style in New York City, fast talking. I'm trying to slow us down in the beginning because this is just a day one overview. But then we're going to move fast because I have a short amount of time. I have about 20% of the time, if that. Actually, less than that over these 5 days, about an hour session each. When I do the boot camps next month, that's going to be 12 hours of 2 days. And then we have 6 weeks of training, implementation of that. So I have a lot more time to tease this out and ask and answer questions and really kind of uncover all of this, get to a foundational level. But I'm going to make this as fast as possible. All right, so where do we get started, right? Today's day one. I'm going to give you your sanity. And if this sounds like you, because this is not about me, this is not about the things I've done or the people that I've helped, this is about you. And that's the whole point of this. So if any of these comments look interesting to you, if they kind of resonate with you, yeah, I get it, right? My superpower is literally on the ground training one-on-one with people for decades, like taking over their screen, walking through every step of the way and hearing their problems and complaints. I call it phototherapy, right? And some of my students actually refer to themselves as patients, but it's true. So where the heck are my photos? Let's just say heck for now. This is a P&H podcast, not Joe Rogan. What do I do with video? Missing folders, duplicates. What about the scan photos? Someone asked about that last time. If you haven't seen the Lightroom tips and tricks we did last week, go check it out. Hopefully they'll put that in the show notes. The keywords are a mess, right? If they're used at all. And do I even need them? That's an important topic because they're starting to become less and less necessary. And I'll explain why. So we're not going to do anything we don't need, right? That's the mark of like a really good design is nothing extraneous. Everything that we do, we should only do once and then scale it. That's another problem it's going to make to you. Everything we do, we're only going to do once and we're going to scale it. That will save you so much time in the long run. They're not in chronological order. That's an issue. Are they safely backed up at all? Are they backed up? Where are they in the first place? Right? What about syncing with cloud? It gets stuck. Where do they go anyway? It's going in this random folder, and now I have this. I get it. Like, I hear all of this. There's probably nothing I haven't seen or heard. And if there is or isn't, tell me in the comments. Let me know. I'm really curious because I've seen just about anything and everything at this point. It's pretty shocking. So maybe there's many wrong ways to do it, but there's nothing we can't fix, and that's what we're here for. Right. So this will give you an overview. And if there's something that you really need customization, if you really have problems, know about the bootcamp first and foremost, but just reach out to me. I'm happy to be a resource. And again, I do these private trainings all the time, so I'm happy to help you out with that too. Log in and fix it all. Nothing we can't fix. What about photos others send me, right? And what about live photos, screenshots, portrait mode, all the stuff from my phone? What about the integration with the phone in the first place? All that stuff, it's chaos, right? So your catalog could be an absolute mess. And today we're going to cover, and into tomorrow, chaos to clarity. And that, my friends, is a foundation. That's what we need. And that's what we're going to build. Right? Think about your phone, your phone, your photos. You need a place to store it, right? We need a home for your photos. And right now that home is unsound. For most people that I come across, in some way, there's holes in the floors, there's leaks in the ceiling. A good windstorm or rainstorm can come by and knock it all down. Is it safe? Is it backed up? Where the heck is everything? Right? The home is out of order right now. And there's two ways to deal with it, right? If we're going to create a new home, a new foundation, well, either we patch things up, put a little plaster here, we put another board there, we put some insulation up there, we patch the roof until it starts to leak. And maybe that's what you're doing right now, right? Maybe that's why you're watching this. This is going to be a lot more than a patch, right? I can guarantee you that. This is a whole new foundation and something that you can grow with, not just today, not just next year, forever, like beyond you. Like, that's the level, that's the length, that's the forecast that you have to be thinking in terms of. This is something that will outlast you. And if you don't believe me, just think about old family photos. We just came off the holidays. If any one of you took an image, printed it, and handed it to a loved one, maybe it's a family member that passed away, maybe it's pictures of when they got married, when they had their kids, or when they were babies. I've done all of that over the holidays this year. And if you've ever seen the look on people's faces, and it brings them to tears, right? Those are the most meaningful photos we can ever have. Your photos have that same power and potential. You just haven't seen it through the lens of time yet. So we need to build a foundation that's strong enough that will outlast you. And so they will become findable, they'll be searchable. And then people can actually share these images that are so powerful and meaningful that you have no idea what that means just yet. That's the level we want to build. And so we can either patch it up or we can tear it down and build from a new foundation. I could show you both. Right? I go over both ways in the boot camp, and really it comes down to an assessment. What would we need to do? Right? And so that's the ending slide. I'll spare you of all the slides from here on in. The rest of this is going to be all me just demoing, right? But you can go to Lightroom Bootcamp if you want to see that. You can email me. There's my email address there. Just Google my name. You can find it. There's many things you can do. All right. So if we're going to start down this journey, we have to start somewhere, right? So where are we going to start? I want to start from the end. I want to show you what this looks like. And maybe Derek, you can turn off my face. You guys don't need to see my face anymore. I want you to be able to see the full screen, especially for the live. I think for the recorded, it won't be, but for the live stuff, it's easier to see. Okay. This is one of my students, because before I get into how to build this and what this all looks like, it's nice to see like the end result. Right? What this actually looks like in principle. So I don't just talk about it, I'm showing it. So you don't have to look at any more slides on my face. You're seeing photos, you're seeing results. And I can't stress enough, like that's where I want to get you to, is just the results of getting that clarity, that sanity, and then be able to develop your vision and your voice and your craft. Right? And all that starts and it looks like this. I just picked this up from one of my students. It was more of an excuse to go see her new puppy. But I've been working with her for quite a while. And, professional photographer, she's shot stuff all over the place, professional trainer for horses, and she's made books on this that are still selling. And we worked together for a while, and we went through her whole career, basically, all of the years. This is what it looks like when it's finished. In one click, we can find her favorite images. These are all the best shots. In one click, we click on a year, and we find just the favorite images for that year. Click on another year, favorite images. Right? I can turn this off, and there's 5,000 images in here. You can't see anything, right? This is what I mean by uncovering the gold. You can't see it. It's all covered. And if this sounds familiar, is because this happens to everybody. It's overwhelming. There's too much. You can't see anything. It's like seeing a greatest hits, but how can you have a greatest hits of like 10,000 songs? That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to create a greatest hits. And what are the odds you're going to land on the top 10 when someone gives you 10,000 songs to listen to? So Command L, that's a shortcut for your library filter. Now we have clarity. And we can do that for the day. We could do that for the month. We can do that for the year. We could do that for your entire catalog. This is what I mean by your photos will find you. Let me show you what else. So I mentioned horses, right? We can type in something like cowboys. I don't even have to finish typing it. Here's all the cowboys. Just like that. Here's all my favorite cowboys. These are 5 stars. If I turn it off, here's all the pictures that have to do with cowboys. Turn it back on, I'm just seeing my favorite. So this is what I mean when I say you can find any photo that you are thinking of in 2 clicks, right? One for the word you're thinking of, and one for the starring, the rating, how much you like it, essentially, because no one looks for the bad photos. No one shares their bad ones. They look for the good ones. So one for the item, and then one for the stars. And we can go to, I don't know, horse. We have to finish spelling it. Horse. And we can type in other words like a horse at sunset, and it will narrow down a horse at sunset. What about a cowboy at sunset, right? So we can narrow that down as much as we want to. And that's just the 5 stars. We would see more. We could say stuff like abstract, and we'll see all of our abstracts. So this is what it looks like when it's complete. And now we're on the stage of developing our portfolio. So to give you a foundation, to give you an understanding, it's good to see the end result. And there's 3 places you're going to find your images, right? And we don't have time to go through like every layout and option. I walk everyone through that in the bootcamp. Yeah, I don't think it's the best use of our time. I think the best use of time is understanding that there's a solution to this. And this is what it looks like. This is just one of many of the students I work with. This is what it looks like. This is why I do these boot camps and the academy. That's like the intensive 6-week training. And then the community inside of that gives you the support you need throughout the year, because we need accountability, and it's way more fun to do it with other people and have someone to guide you along the way. So you're not wasting your time doing it the wrong way, right? That's so important. So if we're going to find our images, we have our folders, and you notice they're broken down by year, month, day, right? Click on a day, click on the month, click on the year, and it's automatically filtered. And what's cool is if I want to see where, I don't know, ooh, pizza. There we go, right? If I want to see the other pictures of pizza, Command L, it jumps me, it warps me right to that day where I took all those other pictures. Command L will zoom me right back out. So I'm never seeing anything I don't want to see again, right? Very easy to do. I can also just come up to all my pictures again and type in pizza, and I'll find it. And I can automate this keywords as well, so you don't even have to type this in. And I'll show you how to do that a little bit more tomorrow. I'm going to talk about how to automate literally everything. Tomorrow's going to be one-click import I'm going to set up with you, that in one click, it will find your new photos, organize them, put them in folders, auto-adjust them. It will rank them and sort them, keyword them, and back them up in 3 places in a single click, right? And people don't believe me when I say that, but that's what I mean, the level of sophistication but simplicity. You don't have to know exactly how we do it, walk you through it. When it's set up for you, It's just one click. I find it so funny when people get stressed out about it. It's fully automated. It doesn't need to be stressful at all. So we have our folders. That's where we put our images. You can also on the right-hand side, let me roll this up. We have these specific keywords. You don't need any more than that. Every photo you come across will have a who, what, and a where. I guarantee you, and every photo you ever shoot. We'll get into that a little bit later as well. And then you have the whole idea of, well, how do you find your images beyond that? What do you do with your images? How do we share them? This is what I set up for my students. We give you a North Star. We give you a compass point. We give you something to work toward. So if our images are stored somewhere, they have to be stored somewhere. These are folders. The reason why they're in year, month, day, because there's no other way you can organize things, right? Your pictures are literally moments in time that are captured, and you can't get out of that. You can't, the only time you can freeze time is with a picture, but you can't move that. That's the only way it can be automated. It's the only thing that the computer and Lightroom knows about your photo that it can use to organize it is when it was taken. It doesn't know where, because it doesn't work all the time, right? If it doesn't work all the time, it doesn't work at all. Most cameras still don't have a GPS, right? We're working on that. I'm actually speaking with Adobe about this now and developing something. But right now, the time. It doesn't know what it's of either. It's getting better, but it doesn't know what it's of either. But it knows when you took the picture. That's why we do it. Now, if I wanted to find that pizza, you know what, that I can do it. What if I want to find the trip? I can type in just the first few letters of the Dolomites, or I can type in Italy. Here's all the times I would have been in Italy. This is the trip, that private workshop we did with the student, but these are the times that she went to Italy. I can find that. You don't need to overthink this. You really don't need to overthink this. And what I can do is create a smart collection and say, show me all the pictures that have the word Italy in it that are 5 stars. And that helps me build this, which is what we do with our images. Your images will find you if we do this properly. So we have the folders of where we put our images. Those are searchable. We just name something we did that day, whatever it is. We went to the park, we went to Italy, we went to a concert, it was Halloween, whatever it is. Your keywords are how you're going to find your pictures. And then your collections are what you do with your pictures. Right? So notice something says portfolio. Why do we do that? It's because when it shows up on your phone, all these are synced to my client's phone, and she could share them instantly. This is all your portfolio. So all of these are distilled from your entire catalog. This brings it full circle. This is distilling all of these mess of folders that you may have had before into something that's meaningful, that's manageable. So we have something like this. We have abstracts. We have animals, right? If I click on, I don't know, any one of these, we can see that these are the collections. Maybe it's also in the Venice collection. Maybe it's also in the Dolomites collection. It's also in the before and after collection, right? So we might as well just jump ahead there for a second so I can show you what this looks like. First, we find a place to put it in. We build a foundation, right? And that foundation is critical. That will outlast you. We need a place to put things, so we have a place to find things. How we're going to organize them is through these folders, automated through your month, day. How we're going to find them through these keywords. These are already in the process of being automated, partially now, and we'll get to a point where it's fully automated. And I have plugins that I'll show you that are filling that gap that Adobe's not doing right now inside of Lightroom Classic, right? And that's the program we'll be using for this week is Lightroom Classic. And then what we do with them. So all these now we're ready to build a portfolio. And that's that last stage. That's like the culmination of it all. That's the meal that you present after you know how to capture the ingredients, you know how to cook the ingredients, then you present the ingredients, right? So we're putting them together in a way that we can find easily, and then we organize them. And all of these are the best images. When you go through this, I insist that you don't overthink this, right? So if I tell everyone in the room right now, hey, I want you to think, look around the room, spend 10 seconds, look around the room and look for the color red. All right, just do it quickly. Look for the color red. I can find a lot. Now, if I say, how much green did you find? Probably none, right? Because you weren't looking for green, you were looking for red. What we're doing is looking for a certain photo. We're looking for landscapes. I'm a portrait photographer, look for portraits. And most of the time we look for our worst images, right? To get rid of them first. So we're training ourselves to look for the worst rather than the best. We'll get into that a little bit more. That's not the best way to do it. So by using these stars and going day by day, you're filtering all these folders. You're just filtering. I'll go into the day so you can see this. We're going to filter all of this down to that, down to that, down to that. That's what that looks like. So you can find clarity. So you can see your images and actually see what you've got. These are the ones that we want to share. And if you don't find what you're looking for there, you go down one level. These are the ones that have the potential, right? So the stars mean something, but they're specific. There's the design behind Lightroom. And if we use it in a specific way, we're going to be swimming downstream rather than swimming upstream. And I know a lot of you feel like you're swimming upstream right now. So we just let the best bubble to the top. That's all we have to do. And then we decide from those top images, what's that common thread? It was kind of shocking to her to see like, oh, I didn't know I had that many abstracts. I never saw myself as shooting like botanicals. I was like, are you kidding me? And I'll just grab some of these images and be like, look at these. Like, what do you mean you don't shoot botanicals? And it blew her mind. And I see this time and time again with my students, right? But I can't be that person for everyone for 3-hour sessions, private training all the time. One of the reasons why I'm doing this, one of the reasons I'm launching these boot camps and these other platforms is I want everyone to have this experience that my students are having. And I genuinely mean that. This is about you. This isn't about me. And when you see the goal that you have, that you're sitting on right now, this treasure chest that you're sitting on, you need to understand how to uncover it. And we're going to get into that, right? So if I want to show you, I'll just give you a brief kind of precursor to that. Let's go to these before and afters. Right, I'll get into this a little bit more day 3, but it's worth showing you what we can do to these images. And I'll go quickly because I'm gonna show you guys what it takes to actually make these transitions. But the thing I see most, and I met with the whole team in Adobe last month. I met with the designers and the lead product developers in Lightroom from every discipline in Lightroom. We sat down and we even had some beers, right? And we talked in the office, and we talked about this idea, just a few of them, but they had this like larger principle. This is what I've been drilling and speaking to them about. How do we uncover the full potential in our images? What does that look like? Because when you see an image like this, and this is why I do this one-on-one with my students, they're like, well, that's just a pass. No, it's not. That's a stunning photo because I can see right through it. Like I'm that chef that knows how to cook it. So I like buzz. I'm like, wait a second, go back. And time again, for years, I've been doing this. And I see that others don't see the beauty and the potential in their own work. And a big part of this and a big part of the other things that I do, the longer term platforms, is to get you to a point where you can see the beauty in your own work and then have the skill set to uncover that. That's what we're going to get to later on in the week. But we need that foundation. We need a place to put things. We need something to build upon so we can find our images and then edit them to perfection. First, we have to organize them. First, we have to put them in a place. Right. So a few more before and afters just to show you what this looks like in practice. Right. We can do some abstract stuff. And she's like, what's this? I was like, what do you mean? This is a beautiful photo. She's like, how did you get? And I'm leaving I for information. You can see the file name, right? This is the before, this is the after. How do you even see this if you don't see it? My job is to give you a lens to show you, look for this color green, look for this color red. If I tell you what to look for, you're going to look for it. We give you these portfolios. We give you those compass points. We give you that North Star. And you start to realize, oh, I keep on starring my botanicals. I keep on starring these abstracts. I love textures. I love macro. I never thought I did that. I thought I was a landscape photographer. And then you start looking for macros. So don't you? Start looking for textures. Start looking for abstracts. You start looking for them, and you see the potential of what they could be. And that makes all the difference in the world. And we start crafting the light. That's where the craft comes in. That's what we do for an hour on day 4. I spend a whole day on this, and then I spend weeks with students doing this until they get to see. So there's another example. We're on the rooftop. We're doing a workshop in Venice. This is the painters, and it's my favorite spot in Venice. Very hard to get to, but we know the guy. So we stay up there, and he holds it for us. So you take an image like this. We take a scene like this. We do the panos. We stitch it together, and then we build this. This is the same photo. I mean, you can see the numbers on the top left. How do we get from this, and this, and this to that? How do we actually get there? It starts with being able to organize, to find, and then to recognize the potential in your images. It's not what the sliders do. Who cares about that? We know what saturation does. It's not the end of the world if you get confused between saturation and vibrance. That's not going to make or break your photography. Recognizing the potential in your own work, that's the biggest thing we can get to. And it takes me time. I have to show you before and after, until you develop this lens through which you can see the world. It's like getting a fisheye or getting a super telephoto. If you use that long enough, you start to understand the visual aesthetics of a compressed 500 millimeter versus an ultra wide rectilinear at 12 millimeters. And then you use it for their advantage. It's the same thing. When you learn how to cook, you start recognizing things for their ingredients. So when I see an image like this, I'm like, hold on, this is going to be awesome. Take a look at this. Right? That's what this is about. So there's so much more. I just thought I could do this all day long, right? Just to show you the before and after of these. I'll go through these more because this is like the fun stuff, right? But we have to get to a point where we can find these, because otherwise they just get lost. You're literally sitting on a treasure chest of gold and you don't know it. And it takes some craft and understanding to get you there. Right. So we'll revisit this again. I don't want to, I just want to give you like a little bit of a precursor of what we're going to get to. Oh, that one was fun too. Like I wanted this old world feel to the shot, this classic shot in Venice. So we created this like old school Italian kind of feel to this, right? So I wanted this texture to it. And we started doing this for a lot of the photos. I haven't seen photos that look like this. This is where we start, and this is where we get to, right? So little precursor that's going to be coming up, a little foreshadowing. Is that the better word? I don't know. Okay, so where do we even start, right? Where do we even start? Let's get started. So we start with the end, so I can show you what this looks like. Now I want to start probably where you guys are, right? So let's do this. I'm going to create a new catalog because, like I said before, we're going to build a foundation. And if we're going to build a foundation, we want to build it strong. Either we're going to patch things up or we're going to start from scratch. Now, if you're not too far down this path or you're totally cool with it, we start with the foundation that will stick with you forever, right? There's never not going to be a moment in time that you took a photo, which is why we organize things by date, right? It doesn't matter what camera you're using in 30 years from now. It doesn't matter whether you're on the moon or at the bottom of the ocean. It doesn't matter whether someone else shared it with you or you took yourself. It doesn't matter if it's a light trail or if it's a picture of a squirrel in the backyard. The foundational will not change from a structural standpoint, from an organizational standpoint, if you do it by time. And everything else I'm going to show you, from keywords to collections, we do it with the least amount of work possible in mind, right? If it doesn't help, then it's harming you. It's a distraction. We're going to simplify things to its absolute core principle so you can get back to doing what you want to do, which I'm assuming is not sitting in front of a computer keywording all day, for instance, right? I don't care what it is. You could be desk scrolling on TikTok. Enjoy it. Right? I'm going to give you that time back. Okay, so we need a place to put this. We're going to put a catalog. Let's create a new folder, since we have to, the best way to find something is know where you put it. So let's give a place to put it. Now, for you, this is what I spend hours doing this in the boot camp. There are students and walking through, but let me just give you a brief overview. B&H master catalog, something like that, right? We have a folder where it belongs. And where would I choose where it belongs? This is kind of an important thing too. All right, so how are we doing on time? Okay, we're good. About 40 minutes in. There's an app called Disk Speed that you guys should know about. It helps you understand where you're going to put things. Now, I go over this with all my students because they don't really believe me when I say, but the whole thing is we're going to speed things up. I have a whole course I've done before, and we'll get into these little tips and tricks about how to speed things up. You put your catalog on your fastest drive. Your catalog doesn't take up space. Your previews do and your photos do, but your catalog doesn't. Right? You put your catalog on your fastest drive. This is how you know what your fastest drive is. So we have to start with the foundation that's going to grow with us, it's going to build, but we want the strongest foundation possible. If your time is important to you, you put your catalog on your fastest drive. Your photos don't need to be there, but your catalog does. So how do we find that out? We download this free app. We go to select target. And I'm going to choose this miscellaneous one here. This is an SSD, right? So if you have one of those spinning disks, I'd recommend you don't use them until Unless you really understand what you're doing, you have what's called a RAID, which is multiple spinning disks. It's like going to a library and having 5 librarians look for your book rather than one. You can spread your images across 5 disks, and that gives you a giant drive, depending on how many photos you have, right? For most of us, we can keep it on a fast disk, and depending on how many photos you have, you can fit it on an SSD. Maybe your internal drive, I have an 8 terabyte, but you can put an external SSD is a good sweet spot where we are right now. And if you have questions about that, shoot me an email. I can recommend something, but we want to keep it simple. Like one folder, one place to put things. So we're getting about 200 gigs. If you have those slower spinning disks, they're about 50 megabytes, 50 to 100, right? So now we're getting closer to 200. That's good, right? If you have one of these new SSDs, that's this guy here. That should be one. This is one. Still about 250. Right? Sometimes you get one that's a little bit faster. Now we're getting about 900 to 1,000. Right? That's a newer SSDs. The NVMe's you can get that are about 1,000 megabytes. Think about that. Just a spinning disk to an SSD like this, 10 times faster. That's where you want to put your catalog, right? Actually, wrong. You want to put your catalog on your internal drive. Pictures, and it doesn't matter. I'll just show you how fast this is. Look at that. Right? A second ago, you thought 1,000 was fast. This is about 6 times faster than that, 8 times, 10 times faster. It's about 100 times faster than those spinning disks, roughly. This is where you want to put your catalog. This is what I mean by having a strong foundation. Okay, so that's the disk speed gap. So that's why I'm putting this on the pictures folder. If that answers that question, I hope that's abundantly clear. Okay, so we have a folder, and we're going to call this B&H Master Catalog. And yeah, that's fine. We'll skip this time for now. And we can only have one catalog at a time. And so this is so important. I talked about this in the tips and tricks, but it's really worth mentioning. Only have one catalog, please. Really, you only need one catalog. Imagine going to a library, if you guys remember what those are, and going into the first floor and say, hey, do you have this book? Like, no, check the second floor and the third, fourth, and fifth. What? Go to the second floor. Do you have this book? I don't have it. Why don't you check on the first floor and the third and the fourth and the fifth? Third floor, on and on, right? You're like, well, why the heck don't they just have one index that I can search all of the books so I know whether they have it or not? That's why you want one catalog. Lightroom is designed to be used with one catalog. You can only sync one catalog to this cloud here. You can only one catalog sync from your phone. You have one catalog to back up to make sure it's running properly. If you have multiple catalogs, you can work on the same image in both catalogs and it doesn't know which one to show you. There's so many which ways to get this wrong, and all of it gets solved with simplicity, right? That's how we're going to solve every problem you have. That's like my go-to mantra. We're going to solve this with simplicity. And so we want one memory card. Talked about this, just one giant memory card. Go to B&H, great camera store, get a 1 terabyte card. If you have 2 camera slots, get 2 1 terabyte cards, right? You're carrying the last year or two's work around with you. Does it matter? No. Because when we go to import, I'm going to get to this in the second session, we just turn on don't import suspected duplicates. Done. You don't have to worry about it anymore. It's only going to import your new photos anyway. That gives you an instant backup. We'll get into that the next session. All right, but we're going to simplify. Just one place to put everything. One folder. We have one catalog. Right, so now we have our folders here. We have our keywords here. And we have our collections. This is the foundation that we start. Now, if you have multiple catalogs, what you can do is go to File, Import from another catalog. You can find where those other catalogs are and import one by one. This will leave your photos where they are. It's critical you do that. Leave your photos where they are. But now you're going to build that index, like that library, where you know each index from every floor is in one master catalog, which is why I call it master catalog. You can import all of your catalogs into that. That's a great place to start. Don't move anything because those catalogs are pointing to where the images are. To the floors of the library, the shelves where the books are supposed to be, the folders the image is supposed to be. Don't move that yet. Get everything in one master catalog. This is something I would walk you through in the bootcamp. This is something we do in the academy, something I do in my private lessons. Don't worry about it. I can help you if you have any questions, but the concept is sound. One master catalog, bring everything in. Once it's in this one master catalog, you can go back to those other catalogs. Right? Go back to your pictures folder, you go back to your master catalog, and then you can label it something like imported when you're done, right? So if this is the catalog, I can label it a color, and I can create a new color, and I can say imported into master catalog. And you can choose a number, and this way you can keep track of it, put it in a folder when you're done. Now you're aggregating everything into one place. We have a strong foundation. All right, let's bring some photos in here because this looks pretty boring without any images. So let's go to your pictures folder. And I just created this folder for chaos because remember that slide I showed you before. Let's just start with where you are. This is usually what this starts to look like for a lot of my students. So let's just add them. I just dragged it in here and I just added them. Don't worry about whether they're organized or not, but just added them. Right, you'll see that little pop-up. That's just going to try and, for the images that do have GPS, like your phone images, it'll try and reverse geolocate where the images are, which gives you like a little pinpoint on a map. So that's kind of cool that you could just like jump into map and see where you are. But it only works with some images, just your phones, right? Most cameras don't have DSLR. So we'll get to that. Now we have something to work with. So what do we try and do, right? We have this chaos, and what we typically do is start creating some folders, right? So I see stuff from Africa here. And don't worry about these keywords, by the way. Like, let's just delete them. So this is the nice little trick too. If I try to select all these keywords, you probably have a lot of them that you don't need. And I just try and delete, it's not going to do it. It's going to delete one at a time. But if I select them, hit this minus key, now it's going to delete all of them at once. Okay, little pro tip there. Africa. So you might be thinking this is how I started too, by the way. This is why I got so frustrated until I started building this, because I haven't seen anyone else like just clearly make a case for why we need to organize things by folders. It literally doesn't make sense. Any which way you're trying to organize your images, if you use folders to do it, it's going to fail. It's futile. I promise you, it's going to fail, right? And I've seen like top level people give you this advice. So this is what they would say. This is what a lot of people might say. Let's create a folder. And I'm not going to do it in the chaos folder. You know what? That's fine. Let's do it in the chaos folder. We'll create a folder. And I'll say Africa, right? Maybe 2019, something like that. And I'm not going to include these photos yet because now I have that empty folder. Now I can just grab these images and drag them in there. Okay, well, that's pretty cool, right? So you're thinking, all right, now this starting to make sense. Why don't I do one for travel, right? This is what the advice people give. We'll do one for travel. And then we have one for maybe friends and family. It's another one that people do, right? If you start charging for your work, maybe you have something like clients, right? And then I've seen this advice from like seriously top level people. They're like, well, what genres do you like shooting? Well, I like shooting portraits. I like shooting, I'll hear like architecture or cars, right? So we create one for cars. I don't know if I have it in here or not. And we'll create one for architecture, so on and so forth, right? So you get the idea. Whatever you like shooting, we'll create a folder where this belongs. It makes sense. You want to find your cars, go to your cars. You want to find your portraits, go to your portraits. But like, that's the problem. Think about this. It immediately breaks down, right? What if here's a car, right? If I like shooting cars and I'm traveling, and this is for a client, which this is, right? This is for Fairmont, and not really about a car, but let's just say it is. And this is travel. This is also sunset. We're going to have a sunsets folder. Here's the problem. Here's a fundamental problem, which is why this is never going to work, ever going to work, which is why you're probably so frustrated. A lot of my students are, is because you have to choose. Choice is a bad thing when it comes to organization, because we have to choose, we can't automate, right? They're mutually exclusive. If we have to choose, we can't automate. So we're going to relinquish the choice to automate it, not because it's more accurate, because it's more consistent. I don't care if I hit the bullseye every time. I care if I'm 20 feet off and I have a hook on my golf swing or whatever it is, that I'm consistent. If I consistently say this is that, I can change all of it at once. If I consistently have the date wrong on my camera, I can switch it all back 3 hours or 1 day or whatever it is. The consistency is the most important thing. But even beyond that, from a folder structural level, the reason why this isn't going to work, and I say, well, this is India, because where does this go, right? I have a client now, and I can create that folder, create a folder inside, and call this the Masai Mara Safari Lodge, right? Masai Mara Safari Lodge. And I'm creating this for them. So I put this image in there. The problem is going to be quite quickly, well, I can't put this in my cars. I can't put this in my travel anymore. It can't be in more than one folder, because then you have to duplicate things and triplicate things and quadruplicate, whatever that is, right? I'm not going to put this in all 4 folders. It's never going to work. No matter how you try and organize your folders, it will never work. I can't make that more clear. So what you do instead, if I want this to be in sunrise and clients and travel, is we have keywords, because now you can apply multiple keywords to your images in a way that you can't put your images in multiple folders. Problem solved. So if I just say randomly put keywords in there, that's not going to help, right? Because everyone goes crazy and just waits way too much time. The reason why we have keywords is so we can find our images. We already have things organized. I'll show you how we can automate things by dates, like next. But how are we going to find our pictures, right? That's really important. So every photo we've ever shot and ever will, you can find in 3 ways. And we're going to find it on the computer. We're going to find it in Lightroom. The way we're going to find it in our minds, the way we think about photos. Why would we think differently? Because everyone's like, well, I'm not going to remember. I took this on June 14th, 1997. No, you're thinking about who you're with, what you were doing, and where were you, right? So this structure isn't going to help you with that, because you have to choose which folder. But we need a structure here too. We need a foundation in place. But before we get there, actually, let's do this now, and then I'll show you, because I see this is like partially complete with some people. So let's meet you where you are. Every photo you've ever shot and ever will fall into one of these 3 categories. Who you're with. I'm going to turn this off because no one else needs to see this, just us. Who we're with. What it's of, what it's about. And where it was. Every photo you've ever shot and ever will, I promise you, will fit into one or all of these categories. We don't want any less, and we don't want any more keywords, right? Any more is diminishing returns. But if you just put who you're with, what you're doing, where were you, then it starts to get interesting, because you can find every photo in 2 clicks, one for the keyword and then one for the stars, because you don't look for all of your pictures of sunsets, you look for your best ones. Right, so 2 clicks. Now we have a framework. Now we have a foundation. We have a structure. We have a blueprint, to use the house analogy, to use the home analogy. We need a framework. We need a foundation. We have a folder structure now, or we will in a second. And have the beginning of a framework. Right? So now if we have this giraffe, for instance, let's just throw a keyword in there. Giraffe. Right? We got a sunset. I hit Command K as a shortcut. Sunset. Right? We're starting to put that in there. I could say, I don't know, elephant, so on and so forth. Right? I can also say client. Right? So this is where I'd put the Masai Mara. Masai Mara Lodge. Okay. Something like that, right? You're like, wait a second, giraffe, that doesn't belong there. No, we have this folder structure, right? So what we do is, inside of what? We create a hierarchy. Animals. We put the giraffe inside of animals. And we have under what? Clients are a what? They're not a who, because there's not a picture of a client's face. If it is, it's a client and it's a who. But under what? I'm going to create one for clients. Just like we have a folder, but now this image can sit inside of clients here. And it could also be sunset. Right? So now I could start narrowing things down. So now I could say, well, this whole trip we shot for the Masai Mara Lodge. Right? So I can keyword all of this now. just like that. Click this checkbox, drag this over, drag this images on there, any which way you want to do it. But this one's for sunset. So if I go to all my pictures now, and I say, all right, I'm going to hit text. Command F is a shortcut to find. I'm on a Mac, so if I hit Command, it's Control on a PC. And I'm going to say, just the first few letters, Masa is fine. And if I want to find just the sunset, just type in again sunset, just narrowed it down. It's that simple and fast to do it. Right? I can find, if there's any other pictures of sunsets, here's the other sunsets. And if I want to narrow it down to one for a client, just type in the name of the client. Here's the photo I'm looking for. Right? You don't have to overdo your keywords. Who, what, and where. Now, the who we could automate. We have face detection. All right. If I hit O for face detection, I hit this little icon down here, we'll start just finding faces in the entire catalog. And it's going to build a thumbnail for every face. And if you want to do this quickly, do it once. Oh, it was my buddy Eric Kuna. I was live at the grid that day. So I'm going to put my name. Now, this is important, actually, before I do this. This who, this is what the structure we made up, right? I'm going to right click, and I'm going to say, put new person keywords. This is what correlates Lightroom's language with ours, with this new framework. Right? Until they build this in, I'm speaking to the engineers already, but until they build this in, this who now, every time we do a face detection, it's going to show up inside of who. We can correlate person keywords. So now if we hit O for that shortcut for face detection, and I don't know, I find a face, I could type in my name, Cliff. I have a picture of me. Here's the smart part about it. You never use this. This will take you forever. Click on this, and it's going to find all the other faces, right? That's all. It's still going to look for other faces, but it's going to find every face, right? If I do this, and this is Alex, I can just type in Alex. This is a model for our Death Valley workshop. And it's going to find all the other faces. Once it's done, it's still got to go through it. It's going to find all of the faces, right? It's going to make it so much easier for you to go through your entire catalog that way. So you don't have to go one by one and do the who. The what, we don't have Object AI yet, but we will. So I build this to future-proof this in, understanding we're doing the least amount of work possible. And the way we're going to get around that is this little plugin here called Xire. And that's going to automatically keyword. You notice how we have a person already here. We have animals already. We have mammals. I never created this. This is something in the next session I'm going to show you how we can build and automate so we don't have to keyword this more manually. The face detection we're going to automate. We still need to approve, but we automate the face detection. We automate that 30% of our keywords. The what we're going to automate through Xire because we don't have it built in. The desktop does. But there's still things it's not going to know. It's going to know it's an elephant. It's going to know it's a sunset. It's going to know it's a beach. It's not going to know it's Uncle Johnny's retirement party, right? So you still have to kind of put those things in. And then the where can and should be automated, but it's not there yet, right? We do have our map. We do have a way of finding our pictures via GPS, right? There we go. That's funny that I keep on bringing up the Kelby thing. I did a whole course on Lightroom Mobile for them a while back. But we have our GPS coordinates, but only half of our photos. And the problem is even when we go into them and we zoom in, it's going to give us a location. You're going to see it gives us the sublocation, the city. I'm looking over here on the right, and the state, but it's not giving me my point of interest. That's what I need, right? That's what we're looking for. If I'm taking a picture of the Statue of Liberty, I want this to show up as Statue of Liberty. Not this is, Ellis Island or whatever. Like, I want to see that part of Staple, not just Midtown New York. It's not giving us a point of interest. And until it does, and all of our pictures have GPS, we can't fully rely on this where yet. I'm working on it, right? There's things we can do about it. We can enable some third-party plugins. We can do GPX coordinates inside of like a Lightroom mobile app, for instance. Wouldn't that be cool? Keeps track of where you are privately, anonymously, and then uploads that track log to your photos in the background. So all your pictures have the GPS. There's a way we can automate it, but right now, where we're at right now, in second day of 2025, just do where. It's so easy to do. And once we build one keyword, we never do it again. Okay, so that's our structure. And then we have our collections, right? So before we get there, how do we fix this, right? We're working our way backwards. I showed you what a complete catalog looked like. That's like the foundation. That's the goal. That's a goal point, right? The ultimate goal will be a portfolio. And I can show you how we build that is by letting the pictures find you, your best work bubble up to the top. Then you sort and organize it. And inside of each purpose, inside of each collection, inside of each topic, let the best bubble up to the top there. And then our portfolio builds itself and it's available in one click. All right, but how do we get from the chaos to the clarity? This is a chaos. We're starting to build a clarity, but we still have this folder structure that's not working for us. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit Command. We're going to click on that top level. Command A, Command S. We're going to save this metadata out to the file. And what it's going to do is save any edits I've made, any stars I've made. I'm going to clear all these stars anyway. It's not a big deal. And it's going to save any adjustments we may have made, stars, flags, edits, keywords, basically everything but collections. Just keep that in mind. When you remove things and re-import them, you're going to lose the collections because it doesn't get saved. There's nowhere to save that information to. Basically, it's proprietary. It's not a standard metadata field. So I'm not doing collections yet. If you have a lot of collections, what you do is save each collection as a keyword. And then we save the metadata and we remove and re-import. This is what we do in the boot camp. Don't worry about if this is like top level. I just want to, give you the overview sort of what needs to be done. I'm happy to walk you through. I do this for my students because they freak out. They're like, what do you mean I'm about to remove all of my pictures? Let me call Cliff first. But I just give you the thumbs up. I look over everything. I make sure everything's organized. Everything's accounted for. We synchronize the folder, right? To make sure that all the pictures are in there. Because if we put a book on a library, you don't tell the librarian, it says that's that book's not even there, right? So there's like a whole thing we do, and then we remove. First, I say show in Finder, so I can find it easily. Then I go back, Command Tab, I remove. I'm like, what is he about to do? This is how we build a new foundation. And then we go back. But before we do, we need a place to put things. Let's build that strong foundation. For most of you, unless you have extenuating circumstances, and there's a few, but very few, I'm going to give you a place to put things. Wherever your fastest drive is, that can hold all of your pictures. And that depends on how many pictures you have. That's what we go through on a little bit more custom basis. I'm going to put them in here for now. And I'm going to call this, I'll call this B&H because I already have. You'll see I personally have a new photographs because I have two folders, right? Because I'm traveling full time. So I have my new photographs on my internal drive, then I have all photographs everywhere else, basically. Because I can't really rely enough on the internet for NAS and everything else to work. We're building something out, and I'll probably share that with you down the road. But for most people, a single folder is fine, especially if you're not traveling full time. So B&H, and I'll say all photographs. You would just put your name, all photographs, or just put all photographs. This is one folder, right? One catalog, one computer, one SSD. Simplify as much as possible. Now we have a place where everything belongs. Now, if I go back to chaos, drag them in. I'm not going to add this time. I'm going to move. I want to move them from whatever folder structure, whatever crazy sort of either somewhat organized or completely disorganized folder structure there is. And I'm going to move them into a better folder structure. Let's just roll this up. If I hold the Command key down, that will roll everything up for me. But I'm going to find this new pictures, right? I could just go into my pictures folder. I'll say all folders here. And I'll go into my pictures folder, and we have our B&H all photographs right here. Perfect. And it's showing me what that looks like. Now, if yours doesn't look like this, that's because you have to, this is so important. We have to organize by date, and we have to organize by this very, very specific date. No other date works. We can't use letters, right? Because everything's alphanumeric. A comes before the Z, 0 comes before 1. That means April would come before January. That doesn't make sense. I don't even know why they offer it. We need to use numbers. So this specific one, we take a screenshot, gives me a year, a month, and a day. So I don't have to scroll through 300 days for each year. Scroll through 12 folders, one for each month. And I can collapse them and open them in one click. Right? So year, month, and day. Once you get that down, and this is something I'll go into next session. I'll be walking you through how to build this, and then start this one-click workflow. But this is the foundation. That's the point of day one. Give you an overview, give you a general concept of what we're doing, build that foundation. And now we're starting to build that foundation. We have one parent folder on one drive for one catalog, and it's going to organize these by year, month, and day. I do want to make sure don't import suspected duplicates is on. Standard previews is fine for now. We're going to go through this whole import process next session, and then I'm just going to import. I'm going to get to file renaming and apply and all that. Don't worry about that. We're just going to organize these now. And if I right click on here and I say show parent folder, here's my all photographs folder. And here's everything broken down properly, year, month, day. This is your foundation that you will grow on forever. There's literally never a time or a place where a picture does not belong, ever. Right? This is from the Adobe summit we just did, right, at their headquarters. Right? So let's say I want to find this. I would just name this. I would rename this. What do you mean? Well, we keep the numbers in place. That's what keeps everything in order. I just type in Adobe Photography Summit. Right? I can put in San Francisco. It's nice to put the address, California. But if I just put what I did, just an event, because events occur in time. I don't need to put down, beer pong and group photo, and this is Chris, and this is like a weird picture of me that they took that I edited, kind of fun. And you have Katrin over there. I don't need to worry about like naming everything in that folder because you're going to have hundreds of pictures. But whatever I did that day and wherever I was, it's nice to have that folder level because I can understand just at a very high level, like a street sign, what I did that day. But that becomes searchable. That becomes searchable. Right? So let's unstar this for a second. You'll notice that my keywords are here, right? That folder structure I created. So just by labeling Adobe, I can create something, Smart Collection. I could say Adobe Photography Summit. And I'm going to show everything that's 4 stars or greater and has any searchable text that contains Adobe. Right? This will start to bring things out. It'll start to bring things out. Right? And we can go in there and we can change things up. I can say 5 stars. I can say just a keyword, for instance. There's so many which ways that you can do it, but now I have a little bit of a framework in place so I can find things a little bit easier. I can go day by day and I can do this, right? It's that simple. Now, if I have clients or events, I already have a structure in place. If this is for a client, I can just do a search for client. And inside of that, I can say Adobe. There we go. Now it's in Adobe as well, right? And you can build these out. So what I would do is create a collection set, and I would call something like website, and we'd start building out a place for you to put your photos. Because you don't have a place to put things, you're not going to find them. If I give you a place to put your keys, you can put your keys there, you would find them every time. So we start just building this out slowly and surely. Right, and you're going to see for all of these pictures, we would do that, but it's broken down by day. So now I can go in here and say, all right, let's look at these pictures. And these, right? This is more of the photo summit. So I could just say Adobe there, and it's going to bring all of these in. I'll label this Adobe Photography Summit, San Francisco. And I can just copy this. It's not a big deal. Just giving you like an outline here. And if I do a search, I could just type in Adobe here and I'll see all the days that I went to Adobe. Right? It's that straightforward. And I do that for all the trips. So if this is our Death Valley workshop, it's easy enough to say rename Death Valley, California. And I'm going to say workshop. Now I can right click, I can rename this I'm going to copy that. So I do that for each day. Paste. Paste. This is actually, yeah, this is something else. That's Moab. So now if I want to find the pictures from Death Valley, I can find them just like that. I want to find the pictures from Adobe, I can find them just like that. I'm just filtering the folders. Right, you can go to all photographs now, and I can do a search for text as well. All the pictures of Death Valley, all the pictures of a sunset of Death Valley, all the pictures of Adobe, so on and so forth. Right, these are coming because the keyword got applied to all of these pictures. It's really not, it's not that big of a deal. Okay, so that's how we would organize this. Now we have a place for our images to be stored. Now we have a place to find our images, the who, the what, and the where. And then we have a place for our collection. So if we have a place for images to be stored and we have a place for images to be found, then why the heck do we have collections? It's because when we have a purpose. So the purpose is website. The purpose, create a collection set, which is a collection of collections. The purpose could be books. The purpose could be a camera club. Purpose could be slideshows. The purpose could be calendars that you make, right? It's not a picture of a book. It's a picture for a book. It's not a picture of a calendar. It's your pictures for a calendar. Does that make sense? Oh, I missed that day. That was fun. Silhouette of our buddies out in Death Valley. Okay, so now you have this framework, right? You have this foundation. I showed you what the end result looks like. I showed you what to meet you where you are, to go from chaos to clarity and give you a foundation. We have a place to put our images. We have a place to find our images. And we have a place to do stuff with our images. And I really mean it. We're working with Lightroom, right? We're swimming downstream. And I'll show you. If you want to do anything with your images, you want to make a book, right? We created a collection for a book. Guess what happens when I click on book? Where's my folders? Where's my keywords? They're gone. I only have collections. If I want to make a slideshow, where's my folders? Where's my keywords? I only have collections. If you want to do anything, if I want to print, if I want to put it on the web, you get the idea. I only have access to my collection. So you better put in a collection if you want to do something. I see people, it really bothers me because I see it waste so much time and there's so much confusion and chaos around using collections because they're not using it in the right way. Not because this is not the way I use it. It's because it's not the right way. You don't want to create a folder for a collection for every folder. You already have folders for that. You don't need to create more keywords than you need. They're just who you're with, what you're doing, whatever, because that's how our minds work. That's how we think about it in your mind. And you only create a collection when you have a reason to, when there's a purpose for it. You're going to make a book. You're going to make a slideshow. You want to put a portfolio. And you can put the same image in all of them. Maybe I want to do one on Death Valley. I'll create a collection and I'll say, this is how I really do it. A space, portfolio, Death Valley. And I'll include these pictures, right? Because this will show up at the top of my phone when I want to share it with everybody else. Because these collection sets don't get recognized. So just alphanumeric order. But maybe this also goes in a book. So let's create a collection. And I'm going to say, I can say Death Valley book. Right, and I'll include these photos. Now, wherever these photos are, right, I'll go to folder and library. It doesn't matter. It'll show me where these images are. If I click on this, it's going to show me all the different purposes for this photo. So what's the purpose? Every purpose, if we're going to simplify things and give you a framework that makes sense, every purpose comes down to one thing: sharing. Right? Every single purpose. It comes down to sharing. That's your voice. We don't have time to get into that in this workshop. I didn't allow, maybe on the last day, if you guys have questions, there's more than I can cover in the session. I really want to get to like the foundation. I want to give you as much value as I possibly can, set you up for success in this new year, give you as much tools and information as I possibly can to set you up for success and give you a foundation to grow and build on this year. But there's only so much I can do this in this amount of time. I'm already a little bit over, so I'm going to wrap this up. But just know that there is a solution. There is a solution, I promise you. And it works every single time. There's never, ever going to be a scenario where you don't have a place to put a folder or an image. And you never have to think about it again. And I'll show you that. I'll show you that in the next session, right? You hit one button and it's going to automate, organize, import, edit, keyword, backup, all of it, because we have a foundation now. And we have a foundational understanding. We have a little bit of clarity, hopefully, in the fact that we know where things go. We have one place. We know where to find things, and we know what to do with them. This will never change. Like I talk about all the new tech that's coming out, which is awesome, especially when it comes to the editing and the gen remove and the denoise. It's crazy. We'll get into that. And I go into a lot more detail, but I'm going to show you a few of these things when we get into the editing on day 4. But we have a foundation to start with now. We have a place to put things, we have a place to find things, and we have a place to share things. That's the purpose. It's always some form of sharing. Nothing leaves Lightroom until you put it in a collection. And if you create a derivative picture, you export this as a JPEG, and I want to share this with Alex, the model. I just share it. I export. I'll show you how to do that. But I don't need that derivative picture anymore. The Louvre doesn't hold on to the lithographs of the Mona Lisa. They only care about the original. But if I put this in a collection, and I have collections for everything, if someone says, oh, can you send me that photo again? Sure. I just go back to the collection I created. If that's a camera club, go back to your January, your February, your March, so on. You always put it in a collection. And when you click on an image, you know exactly what purposes this has. This can be in a gallery submission. This could be in, print. This could be posted on social media. All different purposes. They're all visions of sharing. That's why we have folders. That's why we have keywords. That's why we have collections. Now we have a foundation in place. This is just the beginning, but if we're going to build a home for everything, if we're going to give you a place to put your images, we need to give you a proper foundation. So hopefully this helped a little bit to take you from the chaos to the clarity and set you up for success in this new year. And I'll stop my share there.
As always, a ton of information. Cliff, I'm going to give you a second here. I don't know if you wanted to scan through the questions. We may not have time for all, but I did
enable my video if you don't mind. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks. Okay. Sorry about that.
There you go. You're back. Now you're officially back. So I did copy down all the questions just in case we have time. We're going to.
All right. Lay them on me. Lay them on me.
Let's go. We're going to start right here. Dina, is there a reason not to start a new catalog with each new project? I know most do a yearly catalog. I'm a volume photographer with thousands of images per job.
Please listen to me when I tell you, don't do it. It's going to be a nightmare. It doesn't scale. If you can give me a good reason to, go for it. There's no reason, right? The only reason that some people might have is to say, it's going to slow down. It's not going to slow down. I have 1.3 million images in my catalog. You guys may have seen that when I did the Lightroom, and I'll show you that over the next week. There's no reason. Why would you, seriously? All right, if you understand that a catalog is just referencing your photos, you can put your photos anywhere you want. I have my photos spread out across a few different SSDs. I just got these new 8 terabyte SSDs. They're awesome, but I have more than 8 terabytes, right? So I'm spread out across a few 8 terabyte SSDs. I have one catalog. You only want one way to keep track of where all of your pictures are. It will keep track of all of your clients. It will keep track of all of yours. It'll keep track of all your folders. It'll keep track of all of your drives. But why would you not want to have more than one kind? Now, on a practical level, pragmatic level as well, if you're talking about clients, for instance, the way I set it up with my clients is I'll create a collection and I'll share that with them, and they can comment, they can like, and all that. You can only share one collection. So if you have a catalog for each client, and I've seen people do this before, it takes me a while to undo what was done, right? Because you can only share one catalog. So if I have more than one client, hopefully you do, how are you going to share with that next client? You need one master catalog that keeps track of all of your clients. You can keep your clients on a separate drive if you want it. You can organize things however you want to, but you want one place to keep track of all of it, or you're never going to be able to understand where things are, and it's causing more headaches than it needs to. Like if the question is less or more, always choose less. If it's multiple versus single, single, right? Simplify. One catalog, ideally one drive. I can understand if there's scenarios where you need to put it on more than one drive. One computer, ideally. If you have a laptop, get an external monitor, untether those two things so you can, there's much better monitors coming out, there's much better computers coming out, separate those two, keep it on. If you want to use multiple computers, put on one SSD, get a fast one. I can recommend them, the SanDisk Extremes, and plug the SSD into each computer. But have one catalog on one drive, ideally one folder, one memory card. You plug that in every time. You have an instant backup. I'll get into that next session. It just simplifies everything. We don't need to overcomplicate things. We really don't.
Okay,
Hopefully
I'm going to take a couple of the questions, boil them into one, because we had one person who is working primarily off of a MacBook and is going to be more mobile. Veteran Mike, who wants to know difference between Lightroom and Lightroom Classic. And then Quinn, who hates subscriptions and is asking if subscription is the only way. So
yeah,
if you can kind of take all three of those things and give a quick, this one for this person, this one for this person, you can never escape subscription.
I had this on my outline and I was going to talk about why Lightroom Classic and what the differences are and all that. We only have so much time. I know it's like a 5-part series, but there's so much to cover. This is why I do the boot camp over 2 days, right? And even then, we're doing 6-week extension to implement what you're going to learn, because it's like drinking from a fire hose. Once you get it set up, and now you have to put it into practice, right? You can't just learn to drive a car by listening to someone talk about it. You got to get behind the wheel and do it. That's how you're going to learn. So we walk them through every step of the way. But I will touch upon that. So Lightroom Classic versus Lightroom Desktop. There's actually like 5 versions of Lightroom. There's the mobile, there's the iPad, there's the web, there's the desktop, there's the Classic. Classic, I think of in terms of when I see LRC, it's Lightroom Contemporary, but it's the pro version. It has all the stuff, basically, most of the stuff. The target customer for Classic is a high-level professional photographer or serious amateur who doesn't mind watching this training that gives you a simple solution to manage your own photos. I give you a framework, right? I give you foundation, I give you blueprint, a parent folder, organized by year, month, day, one-click import. I'll literally show you that next session as well. Once you organize and manage it, you get access to a keyword hierarchy, you get smart collections, you get all these different things that you don't have access to, third-party plugins, which I think, enabled inside of the cloud, HDR panos and all this other, like there's a lot of features that are not inside this Classic. It's like a dumbed down version, but they do it for the beginning photographers. They do it for people who don't want to manage hard drives and backups, who don't want to watch this course to help them understand how to keep your photos safe and how to set up an automated workflow. So you don't have to worry about this, but you do have to store your images on a hard drive. That's why you use Classic, right? Up until like last year, you couldn't even store them. You were forced to use a cloud. But the one thing about the cloud is like the superpower of the cloud is that you can store full resolution images in the cloud, right? That's pretty cool. That's actually a blessing and a curse. So you can store images in the cloud with Lightroom Classic too, but the blessing and the curse part is you're never sending originals up to the cloud. You're sending smart previews. They don't tell you this, but you can upload 1 million smart previews. It doesn't count against your storage. That's awesome because I can share entire collections and everything else and have everything on my phone seamlessly work with the cloud and get all my photos and everywhere all the time and use smart previews. But I can't get access to the original photos. That's the one thing. So if I'm in China working on a project and a client says, can you send this? I need the full resolution to print. Then I need the original, right? If you're working with a cloud, you have access to the full resolution, but you're paying for it. So that's why it's for the beginning photographer who doesn't want to deal with they don't even know what the heck an SSD is. They don't want to manage a workflow. They don't want to worry about a hard drive and making sure it's backed up. All of that. Just get the cloud. You just import your photos. There's no way to keyword because it automates it for you. There's no way to like find images through a hierarchy because it's got AI built in, and it's going to keep your photos safe for you because they're backed up in full resolution, but they're going to charge you for it. So if you have more than, a few terabytes, it's going to get expensive pretty quickly. And as a beginner, you might not be missing out on some of the things, but as you get more advanced, some of the stuff that I show you on how to alchemy, basically, like take that gold and really make it shine and bring it to life. Having access to all the tools is Lightroom Classic is a better tool at the moment. I can't wait, and believe me, I spoke to the engineers at their headquarters about this last month. Like seriously, had some long conversations with them. It needs to converge. We have two parallel paths, and right now it's not serving us to have some features in this and other features in that. And the truth is, like the cloud version, the desktop version, it's a newer architecture. It's designed to take advantage of cloud, and cloud is clearly the way everything's going, right? That's like the writing's on the wall, but it doesn't have all the powerful. So at some point, they're either converge or we need to switch over when the juice is worth the squeeze, basically. But we're using Classic in the meantime. Was there a second part to that
Or,
question? The cloud, and then you
I
said
think you,
consolidate into something else.
yeah. No, that was a pretty good
Okay.
for a very vague mixing three different things together. And again, we're gonna have you back, Cliff. We have plenty of time. I know there was a couple of questions we didn't get to. I am dropping those to Fred to make sure that we get to those next time. So if you didn't have a question, didn't get it answered, come back for part two. And if you don't know you have a question right now, obviously you won't be able to ask it, but we're gonna have Cliff back. So if there's something you didn't think of now, you think of it
Yeah.
after, you can always
Guys,
come back to one of those.
I want to take as much time as I can to share this knowledge. And I got a student that was like, I just want a pill that lets me know what you know. This is like what I'm trying to do is consolidate as much as possible, not so go so fast, give you the top level things that usually takes me 2 solid days and then 6 weeks to implement. 2 days for information, 6 weeks for the implementation, and then give people that structure. I'm giving you all that information up front so you have that foundation in place. So that's why I'm going to spend most of the time talking so that you know what you don't know, right? That's huge. And then we have time for Q&A as much as we as possibly can. Just know that if I can't answer that question, guys, reach out to me. It's not a big deal. Shoot me an email, cliffpickett.com. Lightroom Bootcamp, you could just go to lightroombootcamp.com, right? You can sign up. That's going to be the first week in February, the 8th and the 9th, the second week end at the end of that first week. That's going to give you like everything you need to know. But I'll be here. Like if we have time, I'll answer as much questions as before Derek kicks me off the air. I'm here for you guys, so I'm happy to help. And then if I don't get to it, just shoot me an email. Cliff@cliffordpickett.com. I'm happy
Awesome.
to answer it. Yeah.
Cliff, huge thank you again. As I said, Cliff will be back next week for part two. To all of our viewers, thank you for tuning in. Another year of free education is upon us here at the B&H Event Space. But alas, another edition in the books. We'll catch y'all next time.
Take care.